The first thing I'd like to address today is something that, believe it or not, I've never really talked about on a video, and it's this. This is called the Dendera Light, Dendera being the town where this was found, south of Cairo. And yeah, I mean, there is a lot to talk about, and considering the fact that I did make recently a video on the ancient Egyptian helicopters and whatnot, well, this one kind of connects to that. So I thought, why not? Just talking a little bit about it, tell you what this means, what this is. Of course, it's called Dendera Light. It's also called Dendera Light Bulb, because it's something that some people are trying to use because of course it's a hieroglyphic and from ancient Egypt. And then some people use this as proof that the ancient Egyptians had electricity because they could build a light bulb. Now, what's interesting, the reason why I'm bringing it up again, even though, I mean, this has been discussed for years. One is because, I mean, it's funny, so it even has its own Wikipedia page. So, and I always love talking about these things. I just wish that these ideas were backed with more evidence, because I would love it to be true, regardless. I wanted to talk about it because, as you know, we've been talking about the pyramids, the discoveries, the structures under the pyramids, and one of the things that has surfaced as one of the reasons why there are allegedly pillars under the pyramids of the Giza Plateau is for the production of electricity. That's one of the reasons. One is structural support. The other thing that has been pushed by the likes of Armando May and whatnot. But of course, this whole idea of the ancient pyramids being a power plant is, it's not new. I'm not against the idea that perhaps the pyramids, in fact, I would remove the word perhaps, that the pyramids had several functions and they weren't just tombs. I'm not against that. So I'm not going to be one of those who tells you, no, it's just a tomb. No, I think it did have more functions to that. But I do not believe that one of those functions is power plants or production of electricity. But this is one of the pieces of evidence that it's usually used to say, well, look at them, this is clearly a light bulb. So we're going to go into this, we're going to dive into this, we're going to look at what it is, where the site is, when it was made, that's another thing, where it's found, what structure, what it could mean, because the thing is, I'll grant you this. When you look at this in a vacuum, so we just look at the images, it does look like a light bulb. Well, it's a very elongated light bulb, and most importantly, it's a huge, freaking, massive light bulb, isn't it? I mean, honestly, this thing would weigh a freaking ton. And I mean it, by the way, because if this is a light bulb, we would have to imagine, well, I'll dissect this, of course, but this, for now, I'm just going to say it would weigh a lot, because look at the size in comparison of the guy who is holding it. So this is like a 2.5 meters light bulb. But then we're gonna discuss about why it would weigh a ton, but it would. For now, just trust me, it would weigh a lot. So it doesn't even really look like, I mean, people could argue it looks like an eggplant, if you really want to go there. If we want to say, no, it is a light bulb, okay, then you have to consider the fact that it's very different from how a light bulb is today, and unless we go into very kind of rarely used shapes. But most importantly, it would be massive. I hope that maybe one day we will have some compelling evidence and we're like, look, we excavated a site that it's from the Mesolithic period and we found titanium alloy and it's dated, it's correct, it's from the Mesolithic period. That doesn't prove the aliens. At that point it could be the other thing, the advanced human civilization that then collapsed. They all died, and we had hit a reset button, I guess. But, that would be something compelling, something it would get the conversation going. How the heck did they have titanium? But when you see people in the Stone Age building structures in stone, and people in the Copper Age using tools made of copper, it's a little flimsy. Or like we see, we find a dead body within one of those temples or shafts for the pharaohs, and then we open it and we're like, oh, this is probably some kind of high priest, but then it's a reptilian, the body of a reptilian. Then I'll be like, you know what? Now we can talk. So that's otherwise it's gonna be it's fun. For me, it's like when you watch X-Files. Like, it's fun. I like to think and be like, oh, could you imagine if, man, the ancient Egyptians actually had contact with some alien civilization? It's amazing. I love it. But I'm not going to say, yeah, that's what happened and the authorities are keeping it from you. It's all of those horrible archaeologists from all over the world, by the way. This is the one thing where every country, regardless of differences in religion, ethnic, politics, nothing, they all agree, this is the one thing we need to all cooperate to keep a secret. I mean, at this point, if I were a country and we are under this thing, but I'm getting bombed, for instance, from another country during a war, even during First World War, Second World War, I'd be like, fuck it. At this point, I'm going to spill the beans if you don't stop. If this is like that kind of agreement, if I'm getting destroyed, I might as well. How did they do that? How did they do? So basically, you're telling me that like the Russians during the Soviet Union and America, they were like, we hate each other, Cold War and everything, but don't spill the beans. Make sure your archaeologists are going to hide the same thing that my archaeologists are hiding. This is the thing about conspiracy theories oftentimes. And again, there are some conspiracy theories, and I'm like, this used to be a conspiracy theory. What about now? It's been proven to be right. Occasionally it does happen. But I'm like, could you imagine the level of coordination and cooperation between foreign powers that are often enemies? But on that one thing, they're all together. We need to hide the reptilians. I mean, unless it's the reptilians that are making you do it. Then at that point, I'd be like, you know what? Maybe it's the reptilians that are making them do it. If it's the reptilians, it's the reptilians.
The reptilians made me do it.
See if that works in court. So what are we talking about? Of course, the Dendera Light, as I was telling you, is from the town of Dendera, south of Cairo. And this is found specifically inside a temple, and so that you can find it, maybe I can show you, is the temple of Hathor, which I could have prepared, but that's me we're talking about. So, like, what did you expect? Let me see if I can show you the temple of Hathor. Temples in ancient Egypt, you're going to love this. So this is the main structure of the temple, and it's inside this structure, among the walls that have certain motifs and inscriptions, that we find the incriminated Dendera Light. Now, as I was saying, this is a complex, and it's even encapsulated within walls, defensive walls. It's very beautiful. It has some gorgeous, gorgeous art. We'll get back to the art, the way it looks now and the way it looked when the temple was discovered and reorganized and studied. We'll talk about that, particularly the ceiling, because it really has to do with this whole situation, and it kind of helps us shed some light, pun intended, on the Dendera light bulb. So anyways, what I like about this is that the whole complex is relatively ancient, in the sense that we are talking about the pharaoh Pepe I, so 6th dynasty, when some of the first buildings started to be, or structures started to be constructed, but then more construction continued in the 18th dynasty. But at the end of the day, and this is a very important element here, this building, the main building, and the subterranean crypts are Ptolemaic. They're from the Ptolemaic period. So we're talking, well, this one specifically, probably 55 BC. So it is ancient, but it isn't as ancient as some people make it sound to be. Because when you look at websites